है एवरीवन, वेलकम बैक टू माय यूट्यूब चैनल फिग्मा क्लिक्स हब। आज के वीडियो में हम बात करने वाले हैं रिएक्ट नेटिव के बारे में। रिएक्ट नेटिव एक पावरफुल ओपन सोर्स फ्रेमवर्क है जो मेटा ने बनाया है। रिएक्ट नेटिव के थ्रू आप एंड्रॉइड, आईओएस और भी प्लेटफॉर्म्स के लिए नेटिव एप्स बना सकते हो, सिर्फ जावास्क्रिप्ट और वीट यूज़ करके हो। इसका सबसे बड़ा एडवांटेज है, एक ही कोड बेस से मल्टीपल प्लेटफॉर्म्स के लिए एप्स बनाए जा सकते हैं और परफॉर्मेंस भी बिल्कुल नियर नेटिव फील होती है। यानी एक ही डेवलपर को अलग अलग से एंड्रॉइड और आईओएस के लिए एप्स बनाना और लिखना जरूरी नहीं है। ये फ्रेमवर्क सब डेवलपर के लिए एक हेड स्टार्ट प्रोवाइड करता है, जिसमें आपको प्री बिल्ड कंपोनेंट्स और टूल्स मिलते हैं जो डेवलपमेंट फास्ट कर देते हैं। और सबसे एक्साइटिंग चीज़ ये है कि रिएक्ट नेटिव के पास एक मैसिव कम्युनिटी सपोर्ट है, जहां आपको ट्यूटोरियल्स, सॉल्यूशंस और पैकेजेस इजीली अवेलेबल मिल जाते हैं। तो चलिए बिना टाइम वेस्ट किए लेट्स गेट द स्टार्ट विथ रिएक्ट नेटिव। Let's dive straight into the project setup. First of all, open VS Code. Then in the terminal, run the command npx create expo app@latest. Give your project name. In my case, I will call out mail interface. Once you hit enter, all the dependencies will start installing. While that's happening, let me quickly explain about Android Studio. If you are planning to become an Android developer, you definitely need Android Studio because it's allow us to test our app. Basically, whenever we create an app, we need a way to run and check it. That's where the Android Studio inside Android Studio comes in. And now all the dependencies are installed, our project's ready. To move into the project folder, just run the command cd main interface. And to start the app with command npm run. At this point, the project is live. If you want to run it on your physical phone, simply download the app Expo Go from the Play Store and scan the QR code. The app will run directly on your device. You can also run it on the web, and if you want to test it on emulator, open Android Studio, click on the virtual device icon and your emulator will start. To connect VS Code with the emulator, just press A in a terminal and boom, your project will successfully run on the emulator. My project is a Gmail inspired mail interface built in React Native with a clean minimal design and smooth swipe interaction for a real email like experience. Each mail card shows a title like primary with functional icons and a start toggle to switch from outline to filled when pressed. I added animated swipe gesture for deleting or interacting with mails, along with alert pop-ups for confirmation just like Gmail. During development, I face challenges like handling on-delete errors and debugging swipe alerts, which improve my problem-solving skills. Before writing any code, I started by designing the UI in Figma to get a clear visual of how the app should look and flow. The design is very simple and minimal, so the interface feels clean and easy to use. In this project, I created two screens. The home screen, which display a list of mail cards, and the interface screen, which opens when you click on a card. This navigation flow makes the app feel more interactive and closer to how Gmail actually works. Each mail card flow a neat card-based layout with proper spacing, icons, and structure to keep the design consistent. The goal here was to replicate the Gmail-like experience while keeping everything lightweight, modern, and user-friendly. By designing this first in Figma, I was able to clearly visualizing both the structure and the navigation before moving into the coding stage. Here I'm using Snack.expo as my editor to run and test the iOS version of the app directly in the browser. This website is super helpful, especially for those who want to start with iOS development but don't have access to a MacBook, since setting up a Xcode or even Android Studio can be heavy for normal or budget laptops. With Snack, everything runs online and you get multiple options. You can preview your app on the web, run it on an Android or iOS emulator, or even test it on your own device or phone by simply downloading the Expo Go app from the Play Store, installing it, and scanning the QR code. This makes it a very beginner and lightweight option to quickly test, debug, and share React Native projects without worrying about a heavy setups. In this step, we focus on building the heart of our application by setting up the main app.js file and the overall project structure. To keep this thing organized, I first create a screen folder where I add two key screens, home screen.js and interface.js, which will act as the landing page and the detail view page. Then I create a data folder with a file called message.js, where all the sample data for our interface card will be stored. To make the UI reusable and modular, I also create a component folder and add two files, InterfaceCard.js for rendering each mail card and chiptext.js for small style tag. Once the folder structure is in place, I move into the app.js and start by importing React. Think of the navigation route as the brain of our project. That's the navigator container, and it must wrap our navigators so React navigation can manage the navigation state, handle deep links, and persist history. If needed, inside it, you create navigation constructor with constant stack is equal to create stack navigator and const tab is equal to create bottom tab navigator. The stack give you as a push, pop, flow, good for drill down, screen like home details. While the tab provides a bottom tab bar for top level sections, The tab.navigator is where I configure the bottom tabs. I can pass screen options to style the tab bar, height levels, set heights, rounded corners, or provide dynamic icons. Each tab dot screen name and component register a route in the tab bar. For example, Home tab and Wishlist tab are two top level tabs. To combine the strength of both buttons, we nest a stack inside the Home tab. Using the Home stack function, it returns as stack.navigator. Screen observer in brackets header shown false, containing stack.screen name homeman, component home screen, and the second stack.screen name details component interface. This nesting keeps the tab UI persisting while allowing in the tab navigation. So when you tap a mail card on home mail and call navigation to navigate details items, the stack handles the transition to the interface screens and the bottom tab remains visible. We hide a default header. Header shows false because we usually build a custom header in the screen gives you full control over look and the actions. During developments, it's handy to create a dump screen. Placeholder a tiny functional component that simply center text so I can wire up extra tape without building full screens right away. Finally, when I register the tab screen, I point home tab to the next home stack so the tab host is on stack and whitelist tab to the placeholder or to a real component later. This patterns makes the app modular and scalable. Preserves navigation history per tab, simplifies test management, and keeps the UX smooth and predictable as you add more features. Starting by creating the file and add the imports at the top, import React from React, and then bring in the React Native primitives like view, text, style sheets from React Native. This give you the layout list and touch behavior you need. Next, define our screen component with export default function home screen. And after the component body, create const styles is dot create, and put our styling properties there. This keep layout consistent and make it easy to reuse the style. Now copy this whole file and paste it into interface.js, InterfaceCard.js, and ship.tech.js as a starting point, and then customize each files. The next step is to create a proper data file that will hold all of the sample messages. To do this, I first go into my asset folder and drag in all the users profile images that I will need naming in a clean way like user 1, user 2, and so on. Once the images are in place, I make a new file inside a data folder called message.js. In this file, I export an array of objects where each objects represent one message items. Every message contains a unique ID, so React can use it a key in flat list. An image that directly links to the local asset using require an asset and asset image name. A title that stores the sender name like Michael, Johnny, etc. A description which for now is placeholder. Text such a any kind of text and a date that automatically pulls today's date using new date dot two local data strings package. I fill in around 10 different message objects mixing name and images to make the list look realistic. By exporting this area as a default, my home screen.js can easily import it with import message from data and message, and then display each items inside the list. This give me a working data set with real image and clean structure, making the UI feel alive instead of just empty placeholders. Now that message.js is ready, the next step is to render those messages with a flat list inside home screen. So in our file, import flat list from React Native and make sure the component signature is export default function home screen, and add a prop navigation. So the React navigation gives you the navigate prop for screen to screen routing. Flat list. What is flat list? Flat list is a high performance scroll optimized list component. It's virtualized row, so large lists stay fast, and it needs at least three things: data array, a render items, function that returns how each row looks, and a key extractor. Use item.id.toString if your IDs are numbers. I usually also pass list header component, which render header, so the custom header is above the list. In App.jsx, you are wiring the two main screens into the app and styling the bottom tab so navigation feels polished. First, I import our screen component, home screen interface, and the icon library, ion icons and feathers, so they available to render inside the navigator. Then inside our home stack function, I registered the two stack routes, stack.screen name home name and with component home screen for the list view, and another stack.screen name details with component interface for the message detail. When let I push from the home list into the detail screen while keeping everything organized in a state. Next, I place that stack inside a tab.navigator so the home tab becomes one of our app's top level tabs. Inside screen options, I turn off the default header with the value false. So the header shown value false, so I can build a custom header inside each screen. I textual level, tab bar show level false. By use this property for a clear icon only tab bar and apply tab bar style to give the bar a modern look. Increase height, rounded top, corners, padding tops, background with white, and position absolute. The float the bar visually above content. The tab bar icon function reads the current route and focus state and returns the appropriate icons for the home tab if renders a filled mail icons when focused and outline when not, giving instant visual feedback. And for wishlist tab, it's shown a video game icon as a placeholder. This dynamic icon logic makes the UI feel responsive and helps user understand which tab is active. A few practical notes: in short, our whole navigator is wrapped by navigator container. So the navigation state works correctly. Watch out for position absolute, which can overlap content or device safe areas. Use safe area view or add button padding margin if needed. Replace placeholder tab with real component letter and add accessibilities levels and to small icons so they remains screen reader friendly. And here is the output. This interface card component is a swipeable mail card. At the top, I import React and basic React Native buildings like view, text, image, touchable opacity, style sheet, and animated. Plus icon set from @expo vector icons and the swipeable helper from React Native gesture handles. The component function interface card and add some props, items, open press, is stars on together. Receive a signal from message, item and handler for tapping and toggling the star. Note that if you want deletion to work, you should also accept on delete as a prop here because the code calls on delete item.id inside on swappable open, but it accepts on delete not listed in the parameter list. The outer wrapper is swipeable, which enables left-right swipe gesture. It accepts functions like render left actions and render left right actions. These are referenced but not defined in the snippet, and it listens for on-swipeable open to detect a full swipe. The handler checks the swipe direction and call on delete items.id. So a full left or right swipe removes the card. Inside swipeable, the card itself is a touchable opacity that triggers on press. Tapping the card navigate to details and uses style.card for layouting. The user avatar so sender image is rendered with image source item.image. Styles I give the styles.image in a bracket which accept item.image to be valid local requires or remote URI. The star to toggle is another touchable opacity. Posing it on the card, it render an anti-design icon whose name switch between star and star out. Depending on its star and whose color switch, the snippet and yellow versus gray that gives instant visual feedback when the user toggle favorites. Then the card show item.date, item.title, and item.description as a plain text is an element so the user sees time, sender, and preview text. And the last item box is printed to but look like extra debug output text and can be removed if unused. A couple of practical tips and fixes: define and return render left action and render right actions, usually animated views with a deleted arc button so the swipe available actions rather than silently deleting included on delete. In the component props to avoid runtime undefined errors, remove the extra string crossing brackets at the end of the snippet. Now that message.js is ready, the next step is to render those messages with a fret list inside home screen. So in our file import fret list from React Native and make sure the component signature is export default function home screen and add a prop navigation. So the React navigation gives you the navigate prop for screen to screen routing. Fret list. What is fret list? Fret list is a high performance scroll optimized list component. It's virtualized row, so large lists stay fast, and it needs at least three things: data array, a render items, function that returns how each row looks, and a key extractor. Use item.id.toString if your IDs are numbers. I usually also pass list header component, which render header, so the custom header is above the list. For each row, I render my usual interface card and pass the props its need. Item, each star, drive for a local star items state. On toggle star, on press, This home screen component sets up the list logic and user interaction for our app. I keep two pieces of state, start items, an array of IDs for star, message, and data. The message loaded from message.js. And on toggle start simply flips an ID in or out of start items. So the UI can show up filled or outline start. The handle delete function should remove a message from the list by updating the data. State use set data in brackets preb prb.filter card.id not equal to id. Okay. About the set cards typo which ensure the flat list re-renders without the delete items. The flat list itself is optimized for performance and CVs. List header component in brackets render header. Okay. The data array, a stable key extractor. Inside a key extractor, add item dot id dots to string and render items, which renders each messages using our reusable interface card. When rendering a card, I pass the message item whether it's started. A start item dot include and brackets item dot id. A toggle handler in brackets on toggle start and on press that calls the child can request removable. Just make sure interface card accept on delete to avoid runtime errors. In interface card.js, the style object I added shapes how each mail card looks and sits on the screen. First, styling the card to the whole item of full width container with a fixed height of 150, white background with overflow hidden. So any animated swipe action or image that stick out get neatly clipped. And the margin top -20 is being used to pull card up and create a subtle overlap effect with the header or previous card. Nice for the depth, but be careful on a small screen. And the next title, the title is absolutely positioned so it sits to the right of the avatar and left 75. Leave space for the image and top 50. Align it vertically. I give a font size 18 and font width 500. Makes the sender name prominent while padding horizontal at keep it touching the edges. Next, the description. Description is also absolutely positioned below the title and keep the position from top 86 and left 75 and right 25. So it wraps cleanly and doesn't overlap the head or star. In the font size I give 14 and the color is text color is gray. Give it a lighter preview text well. I should add number of lines when rendering so long text truncates nicely. The image style makes the avatar circular. Height and breadth The image style makes the avatar circular. Height and breadth I give 70 and border radius I give a 50. And margin from top I give a 50. It's down to visually line up with the title. If I want a more consistent layout across device, consider centering the image with flagbox or using absolute positioning with explicit top left value instead of relying on margin. The red is positioned in the top right. I give a position from absolute top 50 and right to 10 and give low opacity so it's visibly but not dominant. Finally, the eye styling the star. The star container is absolutely positioned on the right on the top 75 and right to 0 with a white background, rounded corners and padding so the star icons has a touchable surface. I give a opacity 0.6 which is a little so it doesn't steal focus from the title. A few practical tips: add hit slope to the small star button to improve tab accuracy. Use number of lines plus ellipse mode on description text. Avoid hard-coded height if file content varies or use the test negative margin and absolute opacity on narrow device. Switching some pieces to flat box can make the layout more robust. Overall, this style gives me a neat impact mail card with clearly visual hierarchy. सो ऑलराइट गाइस, अब मैं आपको बताऊंगा कि कैसे इस ऐप का मेन मोटो क्या था बनाने के पीछे। तो एक मेल में एक फंक्शन होता है, व्हेन वी स्वाइप राइट और लेफ्ट देयर इज एन आइकन अपीयर, वन इज अचीव, दोनों डिलीट। तो इसके पीछे का लॉजिक हम डिटेल में समझते हैं। अब ये रेंडर लेफ्ट एक्शन और रेंडर राइट एक्शन फंक्शन ड्रैग एक्स नाम की एनिमेटेड वैल्यू को यूज करते हैं। ड्रैग एक्स एक बेसिकली हॉरिजॉन्टल ड्रैग डिस्टेंस बताता है जब यूजर कार्ड को स्वाइप करता है। राइट की तरफ स्वाइप करने पर वैल्यू पॉजिटिव होती है और लेफ्ट की तरफ नेगेटिव। मीन्स ड्रैग डॉट इंटरपोलेट का काम है कि रो ड्रैग वैल्यू को एक यूजेबल एनिमेशन वैल्यू में मैप करना। इनपुट रेंज बोलता है कि सबसे तक आप मैपिंग का एक्सपेक्ट कर सकते हो और आउटपुट रेंज बताता है कि इनपुट के कॉरस्पॉन्डिंग आउटपुट क्या होना चाहिए। फॉर एग्जांपल लेफ्ट एक्शन के लिए इनपुट रेंज रखी है 0 और 100 और आउटपुट रेंज रखी है 0 से 1। इसका मतलब है कि जब यूजर 0 से लेकर 100 पिक्सल तक राइट स्वाइप करेगा, हम आइकन का स्केल 0 से 1 तक बढ़ जाएगा। मतलब 0 इज इक्वल टू छोटा है हाइट और 1 इज इक्वल टू फुल साइज। लेट मी एक्सप्लेन यू। एक्सट्रापोलेट क्लेम इंश्योर करता है कि अगर यूज 100 से ज़्यादा ड्रैग करते हैं तो स्केल 1 से आगे नहीं बढ़ पाएगा, वैल्यू क्लेम्प हो जाएगी। फिर हम रिटर्न करते हैं एक व्यू स्टाइल बाय स्टाइल डॉट लेफ्ट एक्शन जिसमें एनिमेटेड डॉट व्यू रखना होता है और उसका स्टाइल में ट्रांसफॉर्मर ब्रैकेट्स में स्केल दिया गया है। ये डायरेक्टली आइकन को स्केल करता है ग्रो शिंक बेस्ड ऑन स्वाइप। अंदर हम मटेरियल आइकन्स नेम अर्चीव रेंडर कर रहे हैं। शो एन अर्चीव एक्शन फॉर राइट स्वाइप। राइट एक्शन के लिए लॉजिक माइनर है क्योंकि लेफ्ट स्वाइप में ड्रैग नेगेटिव है, इसलिए इनपुट रेंज नेगेटिव ली गई है, -100 0 एंड आउटपुट रेंज 1 से स्टार्ट की गई है। ओके, जब ड्रैग -100 करेंगे तो फुल लेफ्ट स्वाइप हो जाएगा, तो स्केल 1 होगा, मतलब आइकन विजिबल। जब ड्रैग 0 होगा तो आइकन हाइड हो जाएगा। फिर वो व्यू स्टाइल विद, इसका हमने स्टाइल डॉट राइट एक्शन नेम दिया है, एनिमेटेड डॉट व्यू रखता है और अंदर मटेरियल नेम डिलीट दिखता है। रेड बैकग्राउंड है और आइकन अलाइन टू द राइट इंडिकेट करता है डिलीट एक्शंस। और जब यूजर कार्ड को पूरी तरह ओपन फुल स्वाइप कर देता है तो स्वाइपेबल का ऑन ओपन कॉल होता है जिसमें डायरेक्शन बताता जाता है यूजुअली लेफ्ट या राइट, और आप उसमें चेक करें कि ऑन डिलीट आइटम डॉट आई डी ऑल कर रहे हो। इसका मतलब फुल स्वाइप पे आइटम डिलीट हो जाएगा। ध्यान रहे ऑन डिलीट प्रॉप्स इंटर कार्ड को पेरेंट से मिलना चाहिए, वरना अनडिफाइंड एरर आ जाएगा। Render right action logic is essentially the minor image of the left action behavior. Because swiping left produces a negative drag x, we map that negative motion into a usual scale value. Using drag x dot interpolate input range negative 100 and 0, output range 1 and 0, extrapolate clamp, which means when the user swipes fully left about negative 100 pixels, the icon scale is 1, means visible at full size. As the swipe returns towards 0, the scale shrink to 0, means height, icon is height. That interpolated scale is applied inside the animated view. The transform scale style so the delete icon smoothly grow into view as hue. And the swipe and shrink away as I release the surrounding container use style of renderation, which gives the action a full width flex area and red background to signal deletion. Vertically centering via justify content center, blind items flex and padding right 20. So the icon sit snugly at the right edge with some breathing room. Visually this match common UX for swipe to delete. For symmetry, left action uses flex one, a green background and padding left to position the archive icon. On the left side, when swiping right, a few practical tips: keep extrapolate clamp to prevent overscaling, considering adding a subtle opacity or translate X interpolation along with scale for a richer reveal and ensure the parent passes on delete handlers so a full swipe triggers the inline actions. Finally, test touch targets, add hit slopes to the icons, feel small, and preview on multiple devices built so the right left padding and alignments remain consistent. This header block is a custom top area that I built once and then attach in a playlist. By using lister head component, I put a value render header so it sits above the message and scroll with the list. Render header returns a parent view containing two rows. The view first is the man to bar with the left back button. Touch opacity with an and design left icon. A centered action closer the middle view and a small right area for overflow action. Ellipsis icon. The middle group intentionally contain a circular badge showing the unread count and three actions icons, achieve, delete and map. Placed side by side, those icons are wrapped in touchable opacity so they are tappable and the badge used fixed with height and the border radius to look like a small pill. Below the toolbar is header, a second row with a big screen, title primary on the left, and a format options icon on the right. The icon on press here just show an alert in the example. On the styling side, container gives the screen padding and a background, while header is a horizontal flex row with align items center, justify content, space between, so the items are vertically centered and spaced. Middle use position absolute, right side 60 to visually center the action icons toward the top right without breaking the main left-right spacing. Right? Group any right side icon and badge use a subtle gray background, circular dimensions, and center text to make the count legible. Small utility styles like icon add horizontal space between touch targets, header row, set a second row. Layouters keep the title and the small right icons aligned in space, and title one increase font size and wait for clear hierarchy. A couple of particular tips: use hit slopes on small touch targets so icons are easier to tap at accessibility level for screen readers. Test the absolute positioning on narrow screen or inside safe area view, and keep the header as list header component so it scrolls naturally with the flat list while remaining visually anchored above your message items. That blocks build a top area of our screen. The view in the view styled is equal to style dots rights. Wrap up a single touchable icon and menu render with ion icons which sits on a fair right of a header and provides overflow actions. It's intentionally small and tucked away so secondary options do not steal focus. Immediately after that the code render a second row. View style is equal to style.header row that show the section title primary on the left and a format option. Icon on the right, the touchable opacity with material icons named format align right currently fires a simple alert. But in a real app, you do hook this to sorting or filter logic. The style object controls layout and spacing. In container gives the whole screen padding, a white background and a small top margin so content does not butt against the device frame. Header is a top toolbar. Style is a horizontal row. Flag direction is equal to row with vertical centering alignment item center and justify content space between. So the left and right groups push to edge it also add horizontal and vertical padding and a margin top 50 to visually separate the header from the status bar. Note: use safe area view or status bar offset on different devices instead of hard-coded value for production. The middle cluster group action icons into a horizontal row and use position absolute with right 60 to visual place those icons near the center right without disturbing the left and right spacing of the header. This trick is useful for overlaying control but can be brittle on different screen sizes. So test on a narrow device. Right is a simple horizontal wrapper for right side icons, keeping them aligned. The base style creates the small circular unread count, subtle gray background, fixed breadth and height, and border radius 20. To make it round, center text with justify content, aligns items, and horizontal margin so it breadth for neighbors, best text, boost weight and size for legibility. Icon is a tiny utility rule that adds horizontal spacing around each touch targets. Headed row from the second row a horizontal layout with space between so the title and the small action sit apart. Padding for comfortable touches zones and a bottom margin to separate it from the list. Finally, title 1. Increase the title size and the weight and nudge it down a bit. Padding top. A few quick tips. Add or larger padding to small icons so they are easy to tab. Include accessibility level and accessible props for screen readers. Avoid magic numbers like margin top 50 by using self area helper and prefer relative spacing or flagbox instead of absolute offset where possible so the header stays consistent across device. Looking back at the entire journey of building this Gmail inspire mail interface and React Native, I can confidently say that this project has been one of the most valuable and transformative experiences in my learning path as a developer because it gave me the opportunity to not only experiment with React Native components but also to think deeply about how a real world email application is structured, designed, and brought of life. The process starts very simply with preparing the message data in message.js where I import images of users, assign each one of an ID, title, descriptions, and date and structures them in a clean array format so the app had realistic shape. Data to work with. At the first, it felt like a small task, but later I realized this was the foundation of everything. Without a well-prepared dataset, there's nothing to render, and this step taught me the importance of planning data before thinking about visuals. Once the data was ready, I moved to on the home screen, where the next big milestone was using React Native Flatlist. Flatlist itself turned out to be an incredible tool. Unlike a basic scroll view, it is optimized to render only what visible on the screen, which means even if I had hundreds of email cards, the performance would remain smooth. I imported Flatlist, passed my message.js data into it, and set up a render item function that used my custom interface card component to display each message. It was also at the stage that I learned how React Native works with props, writing export default function home screen, props with navigation, gave me access to the navigation prop which was essential for moving from the home screen to the detail screen. When a card was tapped, the realization was important. Navigation props are the glue that holds the screen together in any real-world React Native app. Next, I went to App.jsx and wired everything into a proper navigation system, creating a home stack with two routes, one of home mail, which shows the flat list of emails, and another for details, which display individual message details. Embedding this stack into a bottom tab navigator made the app look much closer to change with tabs that keep the UI consistent and a bar that stay visible as I navigated deeper into a screen. Styling the tab bar with no labels, white background, rounded corners, and dynamic icons that change when focused was another step that added polish and gave me an eye for details. From there, the project moved into the more exciting part, creating and refining the interface card component. This was reusable card that display each message with the image, title, description, and date along with a start toggle. That switch between an outline and a field star, adding the star together. Toggle may sound small, but it made the app feel more alive and interactive. Just like the real Gmail, where user can mark emails as important. Then came the swipe jobs. This was one of the highlights of the project for me. By using React Native gesture handle and wrapping each card in a swipeable, I could render custom actions when swiping left or right. For example, a right swipe revealed a red background with a delete icon, while a left swipe revealed a green background with the archive icon. The magic here was not just showing icons but animating them using the drag dot interpolate function, which scaled the icons in out depending on how far the swipe was dragged. This interpolation taught me a lot of about React Native animation. The idea of mapping one input range, like how far a finger has swiped, into another output range, like the size of icon, was not just powerful but also once I understood it. In fact, this alone was a mini breakthrough in my animation learning curve. On the top of that, I set up full swipe functionality where swiping the card completely would trigger on actions like on delete, removing the message from the state. At first, I faced an error where on delete was undefined, and debugging that issue made me more careful about always passing props properly from parents to child component and updating the state consistently with the function. These debugging sessions were not easy. Sometimes the app would crash or the swipe would not behave as expected, but each bug was a chance to slow down, inspect the logic, and grow my confidence in problem-solving skills. As I conclude this project, I feel proud of what I have built and grateful for the lesson I have learned. What started as a simple experimental grew into a fully interactive mini Gmail app. It not only works but also feels smooth, modern, and user friendly. The swipe gesture, start toggles, dynamic headers, and realistic navigation all comes together to create an experience that is engaging and practical. Sure, there were challenges, undefined errors, animation, glitch, styling frustration, but overcoming them gave me a resilience and deeper understanding of how to debug efficiently. In many ways, the bugs were as important as the features because they forced me to slow down and think critically. Looking ahead, I'm excited to take this lesson into a bigger project to experiment with more advanced animation, to refine my UI with design thinking, and to keep building apps balance skill in design and powerful functionality. And to everyone who followed along or support this journey, thank you so much. Your encouragement means a lot.